Hi folks, Bob from Fusion. Today we're going to look at removal of firing pin stop plate. We're going to remove the firing pin stop. We've had a lot of questions I see on our YouTube. They can't get the firing pin stop out. It really is going to depend on the fit of your gun. You know, there's drop-in parts and there's also hand-fitted parts. This piece back in here is your firing pin stop. You have your firing pin here, which you can see I'm pushing it in, and your extractor. So all these parts kind of are in unison and work together and are held and retained into the slide by a U-notch and the actual stop plate here. How are we going to remove this? On a standard 70 series 1911, a lot of folks will say, well, I don't know what I have. I don't know if I have a 70 or 80 series. Well, you can flip the slide over and you'll notice that if there is a hole with a firing pin block in this area here, it'll be a plunger, you have an 80 series. This here is a 70 series slide. We use only 70 series. Why do we use only 70 series? Because you can refine the action better. You don't have the extra firing pin stop plate that the 80 series has. Does draw negatives on trigger pull and the feel of the pistol. So here you have it as a 70 series. Now if it is an 80 series, you'll have to push the firing pin block up and push the firing pin in to be able to remove the stop plate. Here we go. We'll look at this. Now, how am I going to get this out? I'm going to actually use my punch, and you'll notice my punch, I have a little radius on the end of the punch. And that just helps it so you don't get dents in your firing pin stop plate or anything else. And I usually use this punch, and I push the firing pin in, and then tap down, and you'll see how and you can see right now it's about halfway down. And again, you have to push in the firing pin. It's inside of the firing pin channel in the slide and clears the plate. Then you can push the plate down. Tap it a little bit more. And you'll see how I have my finger here. Why? Because that firing pin is under pressure and is going to want to shoot across the room. So I slowly move the plate down and you'll notice I capture the firing pin with my finger like that. Then I can bring it out, firing pin spring. Sometimes the firing pin spring, it will be stuck to the firing pin, other times it won't be. And then at that point, you can remove the extractor. Take a screwdriver, there's a stop plate. You can take a screwdriver and just start working the extractor out from the bottom like this. I usually do not put my screwdriver on the back of the slide because you can scratch your slide all up. So I put it down in here and I move it out that way and pull the extractor all the way out. Now sometimes you'll find out, depending on the tuning of the pistol, the extractor will be very hard to get out. You'll try to get it out, and what happens sometimes is the hook of the extractor here, have some heavy tension on the area close to the breech face. So what do you do then? I'll rotate the slide over like this. Again, I have a small screwdriver, and I'll end up pressing against the extractor and see how it just popped out the back. So you'll see that the firing pin stop plate removal and to take these internal parts out is pretty basic and pretty simple. There's just a few things you want to watch as a technique. And then we'll do just a quick reassembly here of what I normally do when I reassemble this. And we'll go from there. What's the first thing I do? Well, I usually use Hoppy's, a little Hoppy's oil. I'll put a drop down the extractor hole, put a drop on the face where the plate is going in, and a drop down where the firing pin is going to go down in. So we'll end up taking the extractor, adding the extractor back in. And again, generally guys, if you're to this point, what I normally do when I'm working on any pistols, I'll start checking the tuning at this point too, which we'll get into that in the next video. If I went this far to break it all down to this point, I check my extractor tension, I'll check my breech face, make sure everything looks nice on there, make sure there's no dings or anything of that nature, burrs. It's just a good practice to do that. After the extractor is in, we'll take the firing pin and firing pin spring. Generally, the firing pin spring will stick on the barrel of the firing pin right about this point. And this one's not, and again, I use this for the demo because it's a weaker spring. Generally, when we do the assemblies, they have a heavier spring in it. I use this weaker spring because it was easier for the demo. But generally, these two will be stuck together and you have to pull it apart. So then you'll insert the spring in the firing pin. I take the stop plate, I just start it into the slot, make sure that the slot and the extractor's aligned, and then start pushing down the firing pin. And for you to be able to see this video, I'm doing this kind of backwards so you can actually see it. So it's a little bit more difficult to do here because I cannot really see the slot or anything from the position I'm in right here. But okay, so you see how right now I'm holding it with the punch. You'll see it's into the cavity, the hole for the firing pin. And then you'll see I keeping pressure with my thumb on the base. And you'll see how the stop plate already started to slide up. And then we'll slide it home. So what do you want to check at this point? Well, you want to make sure that the firing pin is free, it's moving, it's coming in and out of the hole properly. Do a little bit of working it back and forth. Just a good practice to make sure that it's not jammed on the stop plate somehow, or you've got some type of debris inside the firing pin hole in that. When you're going to be taking this apart for field stripping or change out parts or anything, definitely check down the holes, make sure that there's no debris, there's no fouling, all types of other garbage that will end up into the extractor slot and the tunnel for the firing pin, because this impede your performance.